Hello and welcome to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 30th of May for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you the standout issues and strands to look out for. Please stay with me. I will then dive deep to give you in forensic detail each of the 12 zodiac sign forecasts. Now this week of course begins with a new moon in Gemini. Now, Gemini energy is all about how we think. It's very nimble and agile, can be very amusing, very much to do with sharing ideas and interacting in a bright and bubbly way. But of course, the moon is very much how we feel about things, and the sign of Gemini is very much more about how we assess things from a more logical viewpoint. So one of the things that we can do over the next month is to meld our drive and our ideas much more closely to how we actually feel. So it's an opportunity for sure. Now, this is also a week when Mars and Jupiter continue to be very closely together. The exact conjunction actually happened as last week came to a close. So that combination can give us a lot of thrust, a lot of traction, a lot of enthusiasm in the sign of Aries. That's very much about getting things off the ground. But both the position of Mars and Jupiter are forging a relatively positive angle to Venus, which of course has now returned to the sign of Taurus, which it governs. So that thrust and the ideas energy that the new moon has given us in Gemini can certainly see us working towards making the most of our resources, which Venus in Taurus can be very good at grappling with. It can also give us an appreciation of good food and good wine and more sensual pleasures as well. But then on Friday, Mercury ends its retrograde, also in the sign of Taurus. So, we've all being challenged by this new financial reality which is kicking in, and it has been retrograde since the 10th of May and in the sign of Taurus since the 23rd of May. But then on Saturday, Mercury comes out of shadow, but also Saturn goes into a retrograde in the sign of the people, the collective, the sign of Aquarius. So it's possible through to the 23rd of October that we're going to be more mindful, I think, over a period of time of how connected we are to one another. I'm going to do a special on the fact that Saturn and Uranus are going to go through a square again within 3 degrees from the 11th of August. So please look out for that. But the other thing to tell you is that Mercury, despite that retrograde, is actually in a very subtle but powerful link to Neptune. So one of the things that we can do this week is listen to our hunches, because they can serve us very well indeed. So Sagittarius, your weekly forecast for week commencing the 30th of May sees the glorious new moon in your opposite sign. The 7th house is where we interact with others. So it can be about relationships, but it can also be about where we're competitive and where we can set our boundaries. Now, obviously, the sign of Gemini is about how we think, it's the intellect, and it's quick-witted. So your ability to be very much that over the next month around your relationship situation is definitely enhanced. Also, the glorious combination between the thrust of Mars and your ruler Jupiter in your 5th house of joys and enthusiasm and pleasures is also very, very good. But Mercury has been twisting backwards in the 6th house, which can be very brittle. Your nervous system may have felt a bit rattled, but that's soothed this week by Neptune. But also Venus in this sector is in a beautiful semi-sextile with Mars and Jupiter. So that can be very helpful. But Saturn does go into a retrograde as this week draws to a close. If you're someone who's got something you want to say, whether you have your own blog or website, or you'd like to write a book, or you're a poet, or you're someone who's very skilled in the digital arena, Saturn's retrograde through this area on paper may sound a little daunting, but actually it's laying down a challenge to you. How more effective can you be if you just work a little bit differently till now? Now, that's not saying that you're not working smart now. It's just that Saturn is about persistence. And if there has been a little bit of a helter-skelter going on, some of your ideas are floating around, not really getting much substance, Saturn's going to help you to really pack these into something that's much more clearer, that you can share with others, whether you want to teach or train people or learn new skills yourself. Also, Saturn in the third house would be a great time to think about learning to drive or gaining some other kind of certification that will aid your situation. So do see the Saturn retrograde is helpful over the next 4 or 5 months.